So it is the final day of action here in another instalment of the FINA / NVC Diving World Series tournament. Back in business for the divers here in Guangzhou for the very last time this year. And what a day it was this time yesterday for the Chinese. What a day, in fact, it was from day one up until day two. It has been a clean sweep of Chinese gold medals up until this very point. And they have 3 more disciplines to go ahead and flex their muscles, so to speak, and continue their dominance here on home soil in their home pool. The women's 10 meters platform just a touch under 5 minutes away, followed by the men's 10 meters platform final, and then we round off business with the 10 meters platform mixed synchro final. So again, there's a plethora of talent looking to showcase their skills in the pool. And again, as mentioned, there are a plethora of talent with regards to local divers as well. Will she go in the first discipline, the women's 10 meters platform, I should say. And we'll have Ren also going, looking to make it a clean sweep of medals again. One of the biggest surprises yesterday has to be really the men's 3 meter springboard final. Jack Law of Great Britain, well, he was ahead all the way through from round 1 up until round 5, and then Xi of China managed to snatch the gold medal from his grasp, with Law really doing an absolute dog's dinner of a final dive to eventually go ahead and take the silver. Xi of China also took a gold in the women's 3 meter springboard, and Wang and Li as a pair in the mixed 3 meters synchro springboard final as well took the prize of a gold medal. So Ren had a very successful first day. It was a gold medal pairing up with Chang in the women's 10 meters synchro platform final. She's looking to make it a double here today. Still to come in the World Series, we will have, of course, at the end, Windsor as well as Kazan. Beijing was the last event, so a couple of installments in China. And there is our list for the first discipline, the women's 10 meters platform final. 2 Chinese divers going in there, Ren and Si. A chance also for Megan Benfito of Canada to get another medal around her neck. She just missed out in Beijing, did the Canadian. She had a 4th place finish behind Kim, Ren and Si. Looking to go 1 better this time. Just about turned 28 years of age now, Benfito of Canada. There's plenty of experience under her belt. There's plenty of medals here in the FINA NVC Diving World Series as well. So the crowd have come here expectant to see more Chinese success here today. A clean sweep of gold medals up until this very point. And they have a couple of excellent divers here, and of course Ren at Sweet 16. Look to add a touch more weight and a touch more momentum to her growing reputation. So it's Taryn Gilliland of America who will be first up. Gilliland was 3rd in semi-final B, a total score of 306.05. Forward 3.5 somersault, her first dive. Got herself a pretty decent score in her opening dive, 73.50. 8s all the way across the board for the American. Looking to get herself off to a decent start here with perhaps a similar kind of scoreline. There it is, a decent enough start. Just lost it with regard to the entry. The legs not quite vertical enough there for the American. Kept things nice and tight there with the rotation there, we see. All in all, I think that's a decent enough dive. So way down on the score that she got in the semi-finals, 5.5s across the board for the American. Next up it is Timashina of Russia. Again, forward 3.5 somersaults, a difficulty of 3. Timashina had herself 8th and a 7.5, a 72.00 scoreline in semi-final A. Better marks, no doubt, will be handed out to the Russian as opposed to the first dive from the American. But again, we've seen her dive better. So slightly better with the marks. 6.5s all the way for the Russian. 58.50 to start off her campaign here with our opening dive. Here's Kim, going forward 3.5 somersault. Kim finished second in semi-final A, a total score 350.95. Should she better that, she'll be in contention for a medal here. Oh, the crowd certainly enjoyed that. And that's the best dive thus far. Again, problematic with regard to the entry. 3 dives in now. Legs tucked nice and tightly together. All in all, again, I think that's the best marks we'll see. It is indeed 8.5s there given for Kim. She sails into first position of her opening dive. So here's Ren, the teenager, the Olympic gold medalist in the 10 meters platform. Oh, that looked good. That looked very good there from the Chinese. That is the best dive by a country mile. Well, you can hear the gasp from the crowd. The scores have been handed out by the judges, and it will make delicious reading there for the 16-year-old. Well, that has surpassed the 76.50 that she got in semi-final A already. She's laid down a marker here to the rest of the field. Here's Megan Benfito of Canada. Back 2.5 somersaults, 1.5 twist to open up with here with a difficulty of 3.2. That's a decent dive from the Canadian. Much more of a difficult dive for her to open up with here, as opposed to Beijing. So she's really going for it early doors here, Benfito. Neat and tidy, pretty much all the way into the water. There'll be a consistent score given out. It is a consistent score, good enough to see her take third position here. So the final Chinese diver, C. I like her fellow Chinese, Ren. She's going to match a similar kind of scoreline here with her opening dive, no doubt about it. Well, there was a 9 thrown in, a couple of 8.5s also for good measure from the judges. C. 3 points behind her fellow Chinese Ren with 78 after her opening dive. So Ren and C of China, business as usual. Kim also in third position. Kilian of America way down, along with Timoshina of Russia. Benfito, well, she's still neatly tucked in a decent position. Round of 2 now about to start. American will certainly need to nail this dive here, no doubt about it. An arm stand back, 2.5 somersaults, 1.5 twists for her. Just up the ante here with regard to the difficulty, 3.2 this time. Holding up the rest of the pack in last position. Got her first horribly wrong. A chance here to put the record straight and get herself a decent score. .52.8 her score was in semi-final B. Really needs to better that here, otherwise she will be. What a bother. Well, that's much better this time. Again, just needed to tidy up things with regards to the entry. The first sector was good, the first half of the dive was good. Again, plenty of splash on entry as well. She'll be marked down for that, but will be a better score than her first dive. So 62.40, that's an improvement on her semi-final score, but still work to be done here for the American. Timoshina going for an inward 3.5 somersault with tuck, 3.2 the difficulty in her second dive. This is one of her worst score lines, in fact, in the semi-final, 57.60. Tuck certainly looked very solid. Not quite sure about the entry again there from the Russian. Left it slightly late in the end. Well, again, we've seen better dives from her. So very conservative with the marks given out by the judges. 51.20 in total for the Russian. Inward 3.5 somersaults. We've taken a difficulty of 3.2 once again here for Kim. Finds herself in a good position with the Russian and the American. So far not doing enough to hurt the top of the leaderboard. I like the look of that dive up until she entered the water. Not bad at all, really. Yeah, you can see a huge amount of splash. Well, the scores are good enough to see her, for the moment anyway, have herself a first place slot. You would expect after a couple of Chinese dives that perhaps she will be bumped down to a third, maybe even a fourth position. Here's Ren. 81 points as we speak. You have to believe that if she nails this, she'll cruise to the top. 76.80 she was given in the semi-final, and she'll better that here, I believe. Splendid diving once again from the Chinese. On her back, maybe heavily taped with Knirso. It matters not. That is another dive that's so easy on the eye. She makes it look so easy. Should be a 9 handed out at least, maybe even 2 if she's lucky. It is indeed 1-9. Other than that, 8.5s. Consistency personified it is from Ren. So here's Benfito. The round of 2 was by far her worst dive in the semi-final, 70.50. Well, much better this time from Benfito. Rising to the challenge right now is the Canadian. Well, there's a medal to be had, perhaps a bronze. She's so far, in her first couple of dives, she's staken a claim for it. Well, she's an experienced, seasoned campaigner, the Canadian. Already here, she's calling on the vast experience that she has. Coaches look happy as well, why not? So here's C, a stunning 81.60. She bagged in the semi-final. Oh, beautiful dive again, absolutely beautiful. So compact, so solid, so honed and skilled with regards to her art at this particular height on the board. 10 meters, well, that's her domain. Already she'll take some catching, she will take some dislodging from her perch. So round of two, done and dusted. C and Ren still sitting pretty. Level pegging at 164.40, almost I should say, just 0.2 behind Benfito. Well, she's involved in a mini battle really with regards to who'll get that bronze. Kim certainly will be our one and only challenger now after the scores at the round of two mark. Gold and silver, well, that's a Chinese battle. Unless something pretty much untoward should happen in the round 3, 4 and 5. So the battle for the wooden spoon is to be contested between Jilly Land of America and Timoshina of Russia. All parted experience here for the young American. Oh, that's much better this time. That's her best dive, I think. A bread and butter dive really for her. Well, yeah, no 5.5 this time for her. Gets herself an upgrade really with regard to the mark. 6.5 twice and a 6. 55.10 again. Slightly down on her score in the semi-final. Back 3.5 somersaults this time. 3.3 the difficulty for the Russian. Dives 4 and 5 in the semi-finals, where she really started to crank up things with regards to her scores. Again, the entry needs work. Still to iron out the kinks in that is the Russian. Well, 66. I think she'll be happy with that, actually. Of her stronger dive still to come. So here's Kim. Second time now we see the arm stand back to somersaults with 1.5 twist. And this is where she really nailed her high score in the semi-final, 84.80. That's a stunning score. If she can match that, the Canadian will be put under pressure again. And she does nail it. It's another cracking dive. Nice lift off the board, good distance away from the board. And it's 8 all the way across as well here for Kim. Or 76.80, 222.10 a total. So here's Ren, again another dive where we've seen her absolutely nail time and time again here. A back 3.5 somersaults. Slightly more difficult this one at 3.3. So simple, so smooth, so beautifully executed. If you want to be critical, the entry could have been better, but all in all, she's going to get some excellent marks for that dive. So there it is, 79.20 there for Ren of China. Well, this is where she may need to utilise her experience once again here, Megan Benfito. Involved in a nice battle right now for this bronze medal. Kim, well, she nailed her last dive. Benefito here has to follow suit. Well, again, it's good, it's solid, it's consistent, but question marks as to whether she'll consolidate her position in third here. Well, yeah, the marks are consistent by the judges. 7's pretty much all the way. A 7.5 also given there for the Canadian. And with that, she will find herself behind Kim. Well, here's C. And there was absolutely nothing in it between herself and Ren at the end of the last round. An arm stand back, 2.5 somersaults, 1.5 twist this time. Beautiful dive, absolutely beautiful. Well, she took her time, got herself set, the execution was there, the application was there, and at the end, the entry just put the cherry on top of the cake. It's an absolutely stunning dive from the Chinese. Vindicated in the scores handed out by the judges. 9s all the way across here, and that is good enough to see C now at the top of the leaderboard after the end of round 3 of 5. Well, C has herself a healthy lead now, really. Just a touch over 7, the lead over her fellow Chinese Ren. Kim, well, again, she has a little buffer over Benfito of Canada. So things shaping up very nicely indeed now. We still have a couple of rounds to go. Mini battle going on for the gold and silver, and a mini battle also for the bronze medal. That's what we expected to see here on day 3 in Guangzhou. And that's exactly how things have taken shape and exactly how things have unravelled thus far. So an inward 3.5 somersaults with tuck this time for the American Gilliland. Certainly won't want to finish last year. There's another mini battle that you can throw into the mix as well. Well, gets that one horribly wrong at the end, I'm afraid. That's been the Achilles heel of every single dive, really. Struggled to get 6s, struggled to get 6.5 so far with every round. I think it'd be pretty much the same in this time around. Indeed it is. A couple of 6s and a 5.5 handed out by the judges. And this is where the third mini battle has taken shape, really. The American and the Russian, Timoshina. Arm stand forward, 2 somersaults with 1 twist for her. Took her time and nailed it. That's the first time we've seen her coaches break out into a smile so far, and I get that. Get decent marks for that, and I think that's enough to see her just lift herself up a place from last up until second from last. Well, let the battle commence. Kim and Benfito. Starting to look like it's a shootout here for that bronze medal. Back 2.5 somersaults next up. Round of 4-5 here for Kim. That's a delightful dive from Kim. Sheer delight, really. Beautiful height off the board. Kept things nice and compact, nice and watertight. Legs tucked beautifully together. And the entry also was consistent as well. She'll get solid scores. There it is, 7.5s across the board. 65-25, 287-35 with one final dive to go for her. So can Ren turn it around now into her favour? Needs to get some 9s here, I believe. Maybe even a 9.5 as well, just to eat away at the lead. Not being filmed this time by her coaches. I don't think her coaches have blinked yet. There you go. Crowd hold their breath as well. So am I. That'll do very nicely indeed. Very warmly applauded by her two coaches as well as the crowd here in Guangzhou. Well, I said that she needed a 9.5. I said that she needed 9s, and that's exactly what she's got here, Ren. Boy, has she stepped up to the plate with her penultimate dive. 88, 331.40. And she's up to first place with that dive. Well, is she the competitor supreme or what? Benfito also, you can throw plenty of superlatives her way. But the question is, will we be throwing another superlative her way after this dive? She's got the Olympic rings tattoo on her right foot. Needs a dive here of Olympian kind of score lines as well. And I think she'll get it. She is an Olympian, bronze medalist all the way through 2012 up to 2016, a Canadian. And there's a couple of 8s and an 8.5 also here for Benfito. Just about kept it together, held it together at the end. And how delighted are the coaches. Well, she's in second. And we still have C with the final dive in round of 4. Well, she's gone for a back 3.5 somersault this time, has C. And she knows what she has to do. And she executes the dive brilliantly. Crowd loved it, I loved it. Will the judges love it? Well, I'm not sure if that dive will be good enough to see her hurt C. The question is, what will the lead be? The scores are in, 8.5s and an 8. Not good enough to see her top of the leaderboard. In fact, it is, I should say. My apologies, she has just about ahead of C now, and we have a look at the scores here. There's nothing in it. Benfito, with one final dive to go, has herself a nice lead. The bronze medal is hers to lose, really. But the gold and silver, well, that is still there for the taking. Well, she's in last place here, Gilliland. Unless she pulls a rabbit out the hat, that's exactly where she'll end up here. Again, it will be sixes, maybe 5.5s all the way there for the young American. Well, here's a couple of 6.5s and 1 7 as well, so she'll be delighted with that to get herself a 7 in her final dive. Her work is done here in this particular final. So Timashina, her final dive, back 2.5 somersaults, 1.5 twist. Well, again, it's a dodgy entry, very dodgy entry. First half of the dive, she looks quite all right, really. I mean, had the entry been spot on, you'd be looking at 8, 8.5 for that dive, but as it is, it's 7s. So again, 67.20, a wave to the crowd, her work is done. And surely after the round here being completed, it will be a second from last finish for her. Now, can Kim do enough here to muscle in and get herself a bronze medal? And that's a good dive, that's a good dive. Brought her A game to the table with that dive, and that's exactly what she had to do. Well, she's risen to the challenge here, and her final dive, round of 5 from her, has now been completed. And if she's lucky, there will be 9s all the way across the board here. Almost 2 9s and an 8.5, 84.80 there to round off her campaign here for Kim. And that's a vast improvement on how she rounded off proceedings in semi-final A earlier on. So it's either a silver perhaps or a gold here. Will the teenager have the bragging rights? We'll soon find out. Well, perhaps she will have the bragging rights. It's another splendid dive here from the 16-year-old. Well, it's 8.5s all the way here for Ren. It was Ren who finished in second position behind C in Beijing. And it's a nervous wait, and perhaps you'll have to hold her breath here, Ren, as to whether history will repeat itself and we'll have a slice of deja vu. So, just needs to keep things together here, Benfito. And she'll go one better than she did at Beijing and earn herself a medal. Well, she does hold it together. Could have been slightly better on entry. And all in all, that's a dive that I think that just could be good enough to see her get herself a bronze. Well, the scores are in. It's 7th all the way here for Benfito. 363.55 there for the Canadian. That is down on what we saw from her in the semi-final. Again, she'll be waiting with bated breath as to whether she will be back for the medal ceremony. This young lady will. Can she grab the gold? Well, that's a gold dive, and I think that is the gold-winning dive for C of China. Again, she's risen to the challenge and showed us what a wonderful diver she is. That was technically perfect, almost. Well, the judges no doubt would have liked exactly what they would have seen from C. And there it is, confirmation, 84.80. She rounds off with a total score of 418.10. Once again, C is the toast of the town in China. She did it in Beijing, and she's done it once again in Guangzhou. Finished ahead of Ren, a buffer of just a touch under 5 points. Kim, in the end, again breaks the hearts of Ben Fito, who again has to make do with a fourth place finish. So it's almost as you were from Beijing. It's the same result. C ahead of Ren, Ren ahead of Kim, and there are our gold and silver and bronze medal winners here in Guangzhou. So ladies first once again here in Guangzhou. And again, so far the Chinese, well boy, have they stepped up to the plate. Dominating proceedings once again. A gold medal in every single final so far. And will we see another Chinese gold medal here in the men's 10 meters platform? Well, two Chinese divers involved. Chen as well as Yang. Cast your mind back to Beijing as well, where Tom Daley of Great Britain tried and failed to split the two Chinese divers. It was the Chinese 1-2. Chen it was, who had the bragging rights, who took the gold ahead of Yang. Nothing in it with regard to the scores. 556.25 for Chen, 554.70 for Yang. Should things go according to the script, well, it will be an all-Chinese shootout, perhaps at the top of the leaderboard as well. Should it go to the form we saw in the semi-final, then perhaps this could be Tom Daley's day. You never know. So much more of a competitive semi-final B, where Daley was ahead of Bondar of Russia. Chen of China, well, perhaps he's left a touch of gas in the tank. 526.10 was his final score. Daley on 538.65. Yang, well, he plied his trade in semi-final A. Ahead of Benjamin Offray of France. Vincent Rendu of Canada, well, he was third, 456 dead. And they are the judges that they have to impress. Looking focused, look very, very concentrated, don't they? And why not? There are medals at stake, so it's the penultimate discipline of the final day here in Guangzhou. This competition really is a competition that continues to gather pace at a rate of knots. It gets better and better. Continues to go from strength to strength, the FINA NVC Diving World Series competition. Big year it is for the world of aquatic sports, with the World Championships in Budapest, Hungary this year as well. The competitors, the divers, well, they move on to Kazan at the end of the month, and of course Windsor as well in Canada. So there's the order, there's the lineup. Chen of China, he goes third. Tom Daley, interestingly, going fifth, just ahead of Yang. Sang was in between Offray and, of course, Bondar of Russia. Vincent Rendo. Well, he'll be going first. Crowd have come out in good numbers once again here. Just love their aquatic sports in China. No surprises there, really. The divers continue to dominate here at this level. So here's the Canadian going first. Forward 3.5 somersault here. 70-50 was his score in the first round in the semi-final. And again, that's food and drink, bread and butter there for the Canadian. Got himself 8 and a 7.5 across the board, and I think he'll kind of match that score here, probably slightly down. And it is slightly down, 7.5's given out there for the Canadian. So Vincent Rendo, we're pleased with that. Quick chat of his coach, and here's Benjamin Offray of France. Finished second in the semi-final A, 93.50. He got in his second round, just a conservative 64 in the first round. Let's see how he goes here. Well, the entry could have slightly been cleaned up, but other than that, it'd be a similar kind of score, maybe slightly better here for the French diver. And indeed it is better, 72 this time around. He'll be delighted to get off to a better start. Outside bet perhaps for a medal. We need to really up the ante though in the round 3, 4 and 5 should he upset the apple cart here and get himself a bronze. Odds are stacked very heavily against him, not so for this fella, Chen. Reverse 3.5 somersault. He's really gone for it here with a 3.4 difficulty to open up business. And there's the reason why. It's a difficult dive, but he made it look so easy. Chen of China has laid down a marker already with his opening dive. Well, he got himself an 83.30 in the semi-final. Well, he's more than surpassed that here. 93.50. That is a beautiful start there by Chen of China. Come out like he means business. And here's Alexander Bonda of Russia in with 3.5 somersaults, slightly less on a difficulty of 3.2 this time. Took his time, stayed focused and nailed it. Kept the tuck nice and solid. Okay, perhaps could have hit the water slightly early, left it late, but just about kept it together. So he'll get some good solid marks. Indeed he does. 83.20 into second position. So Tom Daley of Great Britain next up. 81.60, got off to a nice clean start in the semi-final. Need a similar kind of score here if he is to bag himself another medal. Oh, I like the look of that from Daley. Olympic medalist in London, of course. Looking to kick on here in the World Series. Oh, the dive looked good up until the entry, but Tom Daley not given the best marks by the judges. It's not the best start here by Daley, just 56 in total, way down on his score in the semi-final. So already the British diver is on the back foot. Here's Yang. He's to match Chen in his opening dive. It's a brilliant dive from Yang. Interesting to see what scores he's handed out by the judges for that. Chen given a 9 and a 9.5. Let's see, because that is as good as dive as you could wish to see. Gasp from the crowd, would you believe it? 9.5. And wait for it, just wait for it. He's been given perfect 10s as well. Well, how about that for an opening dive from Hao Yang of China? Well, these two really come into their own after the round of one here. Yang and Chen with 94.4 and 93.5 respectively. Are in no mood here to be shaken off their perch, are they? Heavy favourites to get the gold and the silver. Well, it's over to the rest of the field to go ahead and prove them wrong, because to see 10s, well, that is as near to perfection as you could wish to see. Here's the Canadian once again. Solid diving again from Vincent Rendo of Canada. Back 3.5 somersault with Pike. And again, it's solid enough, but didn't quite have the X factor. Hence the reason that the marks are on the conservative side, really. .68.80. Again, it's down on his score in the semi-final. This is where you have to bring your A game to the table in the final. Iron out the kinks in the semis. Just add a touch of glitter in the final. Well, the crowd certainly enjoyed that dive. Well, I spoke about X Factor just a few moments ago. Well, that perhaps could have a touch of X Factor. Well, would you believe it? The judges certainly are in a good mood here today, because the Frenchman, Benjamin Offray, has got some wonderful marks, almost near perfection, 9.5s and a 10. Well, I thought it looked good, but not sure about that, but it's the judges' marks that count, isn't it? Over to Chen. He's caught the judges in a good mood. Well, let's see if he can get a perfect 10 as well. Took his time over the dive and executed the plan to perfection. We've seen some perfect scores given out by the judges. Well, what do they think of that one? Well, I thought they was in a good mood. They must have had themselves a good breakfast, a healthy breakfast perhaps, because Chen of China has followed suit. A perfect 10 again has been given to another Chinese diver. And Chen, wow, look at that. Up to a total of 195 into first position. Well, Alexander Bondar, you get this dive right, big chance you'll be given a decent score as well. Oh, that was technically sound, wasn't it? That was technically sound. But a 10, I'm not so sure about that. Well, yeah, it was technically sound. Very, very solid diving again from the Russian Bondar. Not good enough to get a 9, not good enough, in fact, to get an 8.5. 8s across the board. I think he'll be happy with that. 88.80 up to 172 and into second position. Here's Tom Daley. Got his opening dive horribly wrong. He needs a reaction. Forward 3.5 somersault, 1 twist, a difficulty of 3.6. Just up the ante here now as the British diver. Everything has to be spot on. Well, I think he has got that spot on, Daley. Much better this time. Business as usual. And normal service has resumed with that dive, no doubt about it. Well, he wasn't handed a 10 by the judges, but almost. 9.5s all the way. So Daley back in business with his second dive. So he's up to fourth. There's still plenty of dives in the bank for Daley to turn this situation around. So Yang going for the arm stand back, 3 somersaults here is the Chinese. Hush around the aquarium here. The crowd perhaps are waiting for another perfect score to be handed out. Beautiful dive, absolutely beautiful. Oh, no wonder his coaches are smiling. Well, the crowd are happy as well, and I can tell you that this fella, Yang, has been handed a couple of 10s and a 9.5 by the judges. He's up to a total score now of 197.65. Well, you wouldn't believe that he's happy with regard to the look on his face. Maybe he will break out into a smile. Should he hold off the challenge here of Shen? So they exchange positions again and again. There's nothing but a cigarette paper between the pair of them. 2.65 the difference. And just look at the difference as well between Bondar and Offray of France. Tom Daley, well, he's got work to do here. Really was a wonderful women's 10 metres platform final that we saw. Kim and Benfito locking horns for the bronze medal. It was Kim who eventually took it. C and Ren locking horns for the gold and silver. And the men have followed suit, really. And all makes for delicious viewing. And long may it continue. So he's in last position now is the Canadian, holding up the rest of the field. In with 3.5 somersault, his next dive with tuck, of course. Not bad at all. Just beginning to warm to the task now with regard to picking up solid scores from the judges. Well, the entry gang is the Achilles heel for the Frenchman. You wonder if that will be his undoing again. I think he could be looking at some 8s, maybe even a 7.5 from the judges. So there you go, better than I expected, really. 72 for the third dive for Benjamin Offray of France. Again, the heat is on, the pressure's on. Let battle commence. Chen of China, an arm stand back 2.5, 2 somersaults with 2.5 twists. Difficult dive here for the Chinese. Stunning, simply stunning again from Chen of China. Makes it look so easy. May not get a 10, certainly 9s are plenty, I believe. Well, there it is, confirmation as it is, 9s, 292.20. Well, here's a solid diver, if ever I saw one. Alexander Bondar, again of Russia. Going with the arm stand, a difficulty of 3.5. Held it together for a long time, did the Russian. Just needed to hold it together at the end. So, marked down perhaps for the entry, but other than that, it looked very competent. So again, decent marks again, 89.25, third round done for the Russian. So in his third dive, Tom Daley had himself 85.75, 8s, an 8.5 and an 8 handed out. I think he needs to be up in the 9s here. Beautiful dive. I like the look of that one. Like that one a lot from Daley. Again, has to be question marks as to whether he'll get the nines that he needs here, Daley, but the British diver certainly looks to be back to where he should be after a very, very dodgy opening dive. So it's 8 and 8.5 for the British diver, Tom Daley. Good enough to see him get himself into third position so far in the leaderboard. Well, here's Yang. Reverse 3.5 somersaults, 3-4 the difficulty. Again, it's a dive where so often we see him up in the nines, and we've seen the tens handed out on many occasions so far today. Consistency personified once again from Yang of China. Well, that's his worst scoreline so far. And that could have implications at the top of the leaderboard. 73.10 for Yang. That's way down on the 96.90 given in the semi-final. And that will have implications here at the top of the leaderboard. So with that now, Chen has himself some breathing space. Touch under 12 points the difference, 12 points the margin between himself and his fellow Chinese diver. And you just wonder, will that be the difference at the end? We still have 2 more rounds to go, so things could change, but it is Chen now who finds himself in pole position. Decent enough lift off the board. The entry again needed work, so again I think he could be looking at an 8, maybe even a 7.5 here. So Vincent Rando of Canada having a very brief chat with his coaches. Getting solid scores there for the Canadian can. Benjamin Offray of France matched that. The back 2.5, 3.5 somersaults, I should say. He's gone for the 3-3 difficulty here in his 4th dive. Rather enjoyed his dive so far. Again, he's been consistent in getting 7s, 8s, 8.5 so far, and I think that's his best dive that we've seen. Well, he's getting better with every round here, is the French diver. Wait for the scores from the judges. I think he could be looking at 9s. 89.10, I think he should be very happy with that. It was Chen ahead of Ren, ahead of Yang. Will it stay that way? 12 points was the margin. A chance here to stretch his legs even further. Well, how good was that? How good was that? Very good. That's the answer. Technically sound in every aspect. Look how tight he's tucked together. Location is good. There's the release. Plenty of time to hit the water, and legs again beautifully tucked tightly together. So there's the scores. Good to see, despite the competition is hot between the two Chinese divers in the heat of the battle, they can still have a very cordial conversation. So here's Alexander Bundar of Russia. Now, if he gets this spot on, he will feel he have as good a chance as any now of snaring himself that bronze medal. And he does get it right. Nice and consistent, nice and solid. Not the best dive in the world, but I think he'll get solid marks as well. So into second spot for the time being anyway. 75.60 there for the Russian Bundar. So Daley, as we speak, is in last position. Penultimate dive here in the fourth round. Nervous look, anxious look, in fact, on the face of his coach. You just can't write off Tom Daley. You just cannot write off the British Olympian. That's his best dive by a country mile. Well, he's a great technician. He's a great competitor, and there it is. 9.5, a total of 105.45. Tom Daley, for the time being at least, is in the silver medal position. So here's Yang of China. A stunning 97.20 he received from the judges in semi-final A. I think he needs to better that here. Oh, yes. Pick the bones out of that one. Yang again, not giving up the ghost on that gold medal. The scores are decent enough really for Yang, but he needed higher scores than that. So round 4 or 6 done and dusted, and it's Chen of China who once again has now opened up an even better lead. Well, Tom Daley now, as we expected, has eased himself up now into the bronze medal position. And Yang and Chen, well, they're out on their own. So Tom Daley now, after a very difficult opening dive, is in contention for a silver medal. Not far behind Yang of China. Chen, well, he's out on his own. Another good dive there from the Canadian. I think that's good enough to get at least a 7 from one of the judges. Let's see how this pans out. So there it is, 6.5s, twice and a 7 there for the Canadian. Benjamin Offray here, front and arm stand back 3 somersaults. Not too close to the board, and again the crowd are happy with what they're seeing here from the French diver. Well, these medals, perhaps the gold, that looks like it's done and dusted. The silver and bronze, perhaps not, because this guy continues to get excellent marks from the judges. He's done so once again. Take a look at that, 90.75. Benjamin Offray here has risen to the task in the final. Oh, so is this chap. Just look at the difficulty here, 3.7. Forward 4.5 somersaults here for Chen. If he gets this right, the gold is as good as his. And he does get it right. Absolute wonderful diving again from Chen. Well, the scores are in, and you've guessed it, they're as good as perfection as you could wish to see. Well, he went for a very difficult dive and he absolutely nailed it. Put the cherry on top of the cake as well. And the judges, well, they put the icing on top of the cake as well with the scores. One out of superlatives. When you describe the diving of Chen, will it be a case of after the Lord May show here for Bunda of Russia? Well, not quite after the Lord Mayor show, but it's as good as it gets with regards to a consistent dive, I think, because there won't be a 10 handed out, but I think he could be looking at a 9, maybe a couple of 9s if he's lucky. So it is 1-9, a couple of 8.5s, 4:30.45. So a respectable scoreline there for the Russian diver. Well now, round of 1, that was a round to forget for Tom Daley. Since then, slowly but surely, he's just cranked up the heat on the divers ahead of him in the leaderboard. Gets this on the money, could be looking at a silver medal potentially. Irresistible diving again there from Tom Daley. Scores are getting better and better here for the British Olympic medalist. Well, for the moment, it's certainly looking odds on as though Tom Daley will be in second position after that dive. There you go, splendid scores, a 9.5, a couple of 9s, 93.50. Tom Daley is back in business. So Yang, from looking potentially at a gold medal, is looking over his shoulder now. He's got Daley to contend with. This dive has to be on the money. And it is on the money. Is that the $1 million dive that we've just seen there from Yang? I'm not sure, maybe in the $1 million dive, perhaps we can half it down to the $500,000 dive, because the scores given by the judges certainly don't reflect the dive that he wanted to nail in the end. Well, he's getting worse and worse. He's going backwards here, Yang. He's in 4th position. Nothing between himself and the Russian Alexander Bondar, and you have to believe that he'll pull it around in the end. But Tom Daley now is in the silver medal position. And again, he has a healthy cushion. He has a big buffer between himself and Bondar and Yang. So we're about to go into the final round here. This is the business end of the competition. So the final dive there from the Canadian Vincent Rendo. Again, has been solid with regard to getting marks. 7, 6.5, 8 and 8.5 have also been handed out by the judges. I don't think he'll get anywhere near those scores with that dive. He makes his way back into the locker room. His work is done here with regard to this particular final. So Benjamin Offray of France, rounding off business with a back, 2.5 somersaults, 1.5 twists. Again, it's a decent showing here from the French diver. Still very much work in progress, but again, the 2 times national champion in Rio. 21 years of age, still work in progress, but again, I think he'll be satisfied with his showing here in Guangzhou. Up into second slot, rounds off with 491.25, and that is a lot better than the 456 dead in the semi-final. Chen, back, 2.5 somersaults, 2.5 twists. He's got every dive so far absolutely right. If he does so again, the gold medal is his. It's a gold medal winning dive for sure for Chen of China. Absolute perfect. And you can hear from the reaction from the crowd, I think this is going to be a perfect score from the judges. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't get any better than that. A smile on the face of his coach, a smile on the face of Chen, just about. Well, what a diver he is. So difficult to be diving after Chen of China. And Alexander Bondar of Russia, well, he's been designated with the task of doing so. Well, he's not going to get perfect 10s, but he will get a very good score. Well, no tens, but again, splendid effort here at the office for Bunda of Russia. Nines all the way. Well, he certainly won't be getting a gold medal, Tom Daley, but the silver, well, that is up for grabs. That is there for the taking. 3.6 the difficulty. Back 3.5 somersaults here for the British diver. Well, the entry could have been better from Tom Daley, but that potentially could be good enough to see him snare himself a silver medal. Not vertical enough on the entry. Too much splash as well from Daley. 86.40, 531.45. Slightly down on his semi-final score. And again, it's a nervous wait here for Daley as to what colour the medal potentially could be. He's in second position as we speak. Yang of China, 429.45. He needs nines, he needs 9.5s, perhaps even a couple of tens here to get himself that silver medal. Here we go. It's a good dive. It's a good dive. Not quite good enough to get tens, no doubt about it there from Yang of China. Well, is it good enough to get himself a silver medal? We wait for the scores here to come up on our screen. I think he's looking at nines, maybe 9.5s. So there it is, it's nines all the way. It's a bronze medal for Yang of China. So Tom Daley has gone one better than he did in Beijing. He got himself a bronze there. He's bumped himself up the food chain this time into a silver medal. And there is confirmation. Just look at that score from Chen. 6:01.15. He's blown away the rest of the field here today. Tom Daley, after a very, very problematic start, got better and better. And Yang, well, he went the other way. And Daley, well, he capitalised on that. Just under 5 points ahead of Yang, who got himself a bronze. So again, it's a gold medal for China. It's been a clean sweep all the way up until this stage of the competition. With one final discipline still to go, China really have shown us what they're all about here in Guangzhou so far. So the crowd once again have digested another competitive discipline here today. The men's 10 meters platform final, just as solid, just as competitive as the women's was. There were twists and turns, and there were perfect scores also handed out by the judges. Boy, are they in a good mood today. Some of the dives were absolutely right on the money, at the top of the line, at the top of the order. And Yang of China so far, in my opinion, has earned the right to be called the poster boy here at Guangzhou. A 100% record so far, with one event still to go for China. What a coup, what a feather in the hat it would be for the Chinese if they go ahead and make it a clean sweep spread over 3 days here in Guangzhou. Just can't bet against them, can you, really? That's how it is. They are the country, they are the divers to beat. That's the yardstick, and that is the bar that everybody has to adhere to. They're the ones to beat. Here in their home pool, it always was going to dominate proceedings, and so it has proved to be, really. And it is Lian and Lian that go together in the mixed 10 meter synchro platform final. And you have to feel, again, that they'll be thereabouts in the shake-up for the gold or perhaps even the silver medal. They finish ahead of the Russian pair of Minibayev and Timoshina at Beijing, at the Water Cube, the National Aquatic Centre. And it was Rendo and Benfito of Canada who took the bronze medal ahead of the Australians, and the Mexicans were in last position. It is exactly the same pairings here at Guangzhou as it was in Beijing. Decent winning margin as well, 329.28 ahead of Minibayev and Timoshina on 305.64. It was the Russians and the Canadians side by side that locked horns for that silver and bronze medal. Australia, well, they threw their name into the hat as well. Didn't quite have what it takes to get over the line. They just about missed out behind the Canadians by a slender point in the end. And the Mexicans also were not far off. So with that in mind, it could be a big challenge again. Wonder if we'll see the same order with the Russians and the Canadians in the silver and bronze medal positions. We'll soon know, as the divers are now being introduced to us as well as the crowd. all 10. So next up it is the final discipline of this competition here for the week at Guangzhou. A splendid 3 days of diving up until this point. Success all the way across the board it has been for China. Just one final hurdle to go before they tick every single box and snare every single gold medal. The mixed 10-meter synchro platform final very shortly will be up and underway, and Lian of China looking to make it a 1-2 on their home competition, as they did at Beijing, of course. Lian Yi, of course, of the pairing, has won a host of titles in the World Series, gold medals in the synchro. Plenty of judges for the divers to impress. The synchronization as well as the execution. So it is the same lineup here at Guangzhou as it was in Beijing, the same pairings for each respective country. Delangel, Dinesh Willis Valdez of Mexico, Kovchenko and Bedgood there for Australia, Timashina and Minibayev of Russia, Benfito and Rendo of Canada, Lian and Lian of China. So the Mexicans it is to start off proceedings. Final discipline of day number 3 in Guangzhou, the 10 meters platform mixed synchro final. That's an easy dive to start off proceedings with, and they made it look easy. Decent marks, no doubt, will be handed out there for the Mexicans. Okay, it's a bread and butter dive. Synchronization slightly could have been better, but all in all, they'll be happy with that. So 9's given out there for the synchronization, 8.5 for the execution. Good start. So Dominic Bedgood and Tanika Kovchenko of Australia.
Ready? 1, 2, 3, go.
Synchronization, very, very good. Spot on execution. Perhaps is where they could slightly be marked down. You see there Kovchenko just entering the water slightly ahead of her partner. So Ruendo and Benfito of Canada next up. Getting the reverse dive. Difficulty of 2.0. Missed out on a medal earlier on in the day, did Benfito. Beautiful. Execution as well as the synchronization. They'll get decent scores for both. Nice and tight with regard to the legs on entry. All in all, very solid. Slightly higher with regard to the synchro. Again, consistent with regard to the marks on the execution. So here's Timashina and Minibayev. I like the look of that dive as well. No margin for error really on any dive from any pair really, because the Chinese, well, they're out in front, but not much to choose between the other 4 teams with regard to points they will accumulate. It's a good start here by the Russians. Perfect 9s and a 9.5 given out for the execution as well. Here are the favourites, Lian and Lian of China. Pretty simplistic, forward dive for them. Nice and watertight. No problems at all there for the Chinese. Oh, we've seen 10s handed out aplenty today by the judges for many of the Chinese divers. And the judges here have followed suit for Lian and Lian. A 10 given out for the execution, near perfect almost for the synchronization. All business here already from the favourites after one round. So the Australians have work to do if they are to put themselves in contention for a medal. Not much to choose between the other three countries, Russia, Mexico and Canada. So a reverse back dive here for the Mexicans. Oh, what a good effort that was again. Staying solid, staying consistent going with this dive. Again, not quite synchronized as a pair on entry to the water. Execution slightly better. There you go, a 9 given out for the execution. 103.20 so far, their total score. Ovchenko and Bedgood of Australia going for a reverse dive again. Not the blue ribbon dive, perhaps, to get themselves extra marks on their score, but again, it's a dive they should nail simply. It's a simple dive, and they made it look simple too. Another job well done there by the Australians. So Megan Benfito as well as Vincent Morendo of Canada. Still in a decent position here to contemplate getting another medal around their necks. And the synchro again is where they could be marked down. Not quite together, not quite as one as we'll see here on the replay. Way ahead there was Benfito of her partner. The execution is where they got the best mark, a 9. 8's all the way there for the synchronization. Well, here's the Russians, Timashina and Minibayev. Very warmly applauded there by their coaches, the Russians. Let's have another look at this dive. I think they'll get good marks there for the synchronization, actually. Could be looking at 8.5, potentially even a 9. So a reverse dive here for the Chinese. Oh, I love the look of that dive. Absolutely love that one. Not the most difficult dive in the world, but when these two get themselves up on the platform, how easy does it look? Well, again, another 10 for the execution, 9s all the way for the synchronization. Just refusing to take their foot off the accelerator right now, the Chinese. Already the lead is looking very good from their perspective. The Russians, well, just about ahead of the Mexicans, who have a 3-point lead over the Canadians. The Australians, well, they're nowhere to be seen at the moment. They certainly have work to do with 3 more rounds to go. So a forward 3.5 somersaults this time. 3.0 will be the difficulty for every pairing all the way through this round. It's round 4 where it starts to get slightly difficult. And the entry from both divers there could have been slightly better. Into the rotation as well is where they will be marked down, but the execution will be slightly better, I think, with regard to the marks. But there you go, 9 for the execution, 7.5 and an 8. Also there for the synchronization. Bringing up the rear before the start of this round were the Australians. Get this one right, perhaps they will be slightly higher up in the leaderboard, so let's see how they get on here. Forward 3.5 somersaults this time. Oh, that's the best dive. That's an excellent dive. So up into second position for the moment are Kovchenko and Bedgood of Australia. Forward 3.5 somersaults for Benfito and Rando of Canada. I'll have to see what the judges give for that dive, because again, the synchronization could have been better. We can see there Benfito again way ahead of her partner. Again, the mark's not the best, hence the slightly disappointed look there on the face of Benfito. Now, can they capitalize on that? The Russian pairing of Timashina and Minibayev. The door is slightly ajar for them to do so, should they get themselves up in the 9s or the 8.5s of this next dive. Well, potentially they can. Getting solid diving from the Russian pair. You can see clearly there it's Timashina. Again, has entered the water, but again, The entry for both left a lot to be desired. Execution 6, way down on the score. Perhaps they would have wanted to get synchronization slightly better. Final dive in the round of 3 for the Chinese. And again, it's another splendid dive on entry. Could have been better. It could have been better. Up until that point, they were safe as houses, really. The execution, perhaps, is where they'll get the highest mark. The synchronization, I think, is where they'll be marked down. So an 8, a couple of 8.5 for the synchronization, an 8 and a 9 for the execution. That is not as they've moved back to where they belong, really, at the top. So confirmation of Lian and Lian of China just beginning to move away here. Slightly bigger margin after round 3. The Mexicans sitting pretty. What a coup it is for them in second position, and the Russians just about ahead of the Canadians in that mini battle for the bronze medal. So this is where it gets slightly more difficult. Round of 4, 3.2 with regard to the difficulty all the way, other than the Russians who have really gone for it with a 3.4. So here are the Mexicans, inward 3.5 somersaults. Can they hold on to their medal position here with this dive? Good distance away from the board on entry again. Could have been better, but all in all, they'll be happy with that, the Mexicans. It's another polished dive. Well, they were last but not least in Beijing. Boy, have they come out here today looking to put the record straight. And they're going about their business in solid fashion. You can see the delight on the faces of their coaches. Thumbs up as well. The Mexicans really have stepped up to the plate. Been really impressed with them so far. So in with 3.5 somersaults again here for the Australians of Bedgood and Kovchenko. Oh, that's an excellent dive. Again, solid diving from the Australians. Oh, they're in unison. They're almost as one. They'll get a lot of marks for the execution and a lot of marks for the synchronization as well. Thumbs up there from Dominic Bedgood, and why not? It's an excellent dive, really, on the surface of things. Well, these two have got some work to do, really. Took a bronze at Beijing. This dive and their final dive, well, they've got to get it absolutely spot on, really. That's much better. Better than their last couple of dives there for Benfito and Rendo. Well, will that throw a spanner in the works here for the medal positions? Synchronization is where they ironed out the kinks. The execution, I think, is where they will be marked down. So it proved to be 8 all the way for the synchro. A 7 and a 7.5 there for the execution. Timashina and Minibayev dived brilliantly so far. The entry, the splash, a bit too much, a bit off kilter. Well, have another look at that, and again you can see into the rotation. They were really as one, but I'm not sure if that's going to be good enough to stretch their legs even further and just give themselves a good, healthy lead going into the final round. Let's see. Well, they're in second, 78.54, 247.44. The Russians got themselves a silver at Beijing. They're on course to do so again. Here's the final dive. Yeah, it's a dive that these two really do nail in their sleep. It is the inwards 3.5 somersaults, 3.2 the difficulty. And they nail it once again. Well, I think they'll be given a perfect score by at least one of the judges for that. Indeed they are. No prizes as to where the gold medal will go, barring a catastrophe here. Lian and Lian again of China are the pair to beat. Oh, the Mexicans are in second position, 255.78. All they have to do is keep things together, no mistakes, and the silver is theirs basically, unless the Russians can throw their weight into the mix here and knock them off that silver medal position. Canada, well, they're nowhere to be seen really. They just haven't been at the races today, Canada, Benfito and Mirandau. And too many mistakes really, hence the reason they're at the bottom of the pile. So the final round about to begin, round 5 of 5. Now, penny for the forts of these two here. Delangel Peniche and Willis Valdez of Mexico. They were 5th in Beijing, they're 2nd as we speak. The silver medal is there for the take-in. Well, it's going to be a nervous wait. Whoops of delight from the coaches. Let's have another look at this dive. Well, into the twist. That's where they lost it, but they really got it back together at the end, didn't they? That's a warm embrace and smiles all round, and no wonder. They've been at it today, they really have been on it. Well, there's the marks, and I think that could be good enough to see them hang on to that silver medal. And I think they believe that as well. You'll need to be perfect 10s, 9.5s all the way around from the Russian pair to do so. And Kovchenko and Bedgood here with their final dive. Well, not quite there at the end. Not quite there at the end, but the Australians had a better showing at Beijing, where they rounded off with a 301.92 scoreline. Well, much better than the scoreline at Beijing. They're in second position. Again, they have to wait with bated breath to see if they can grab a medal. So here go Benfito and Rendo once again. They want to sign off with their best dive perhaps, because they haven't been at their best today, and that's the understatement of the year. Well, that is better. Again, the entry could have been better, but I don't think they're going to get anywhere near a medal here, the Canadians. Struggled to get in the 9, struggled to even get in the 8 so far today. It's Rindo nowhere near straight enough on entry. The synchronization slightly better from them. The execution again, as we can see there, with 1 mark, a 7. Quite good enough. Well, what about these two? What will they produce here? What can they pull out of the hat? Oh, they've got that absolutely spot on. We'll be looking at 8.5, potentially even a 9 if they're lucky. The execution could have been better, they know that. Oh, 321.36 in third position for Timashina and Minibayev. That's a vast improvement on the showing at Beijing. Final dive here for Lian Lian of China. It's another beautifully polished, it's a beautifully executed dive to round off round of 5 here for the Chinese. Won't get a 10 for that, but potentially there's a 9 on the table. It matters not anyway, whether they get 9s or 10s. The gold medal will be theirs once again. And what a 3 days we've had here at Guangzhou for China. They've won every single gold medal in every single discipline. And what a coup it has been for Mexico. They finished last in 5th place in Beijing. In Guangzhou, they've set the record straight and ended up with a silver medal. And the Australians as well put the record straight with a medal here in Guangzhou, and a bronze it is. So disappointment for the Russians and the Canadians. They got the silver and bronze medal respectively in Beijing. The tables have been turned in Guangzhou, and you have to warmly applaud and you have to tip your hat to the Mexicans as well as the Australians for doing that. So do stick around for the medal ceremony here in Guangzhou. Enjoy some of these dives here on the replays, because they have been of the highest order here on the 3rd day. We'll be back for the medals when they will be handed out, and again, do stick around. So the medal ceremony about to take place here in Guangzhou. And again, I really have to reiterate what a splendid 3 days it has been here for the Chinese divers. A clean sweep of gold medals spread across 3 days here in one of their home tournaments. And they haven't disappointed the organisers, the sponsors, as well as the crowd. So the women's 10 meters platform saw Kim once again pick up a bronze medal, as she also did in Beijing. Probably as good as it would have got for her. If she would have been honest, she would have been somewhat surprised to have got herself a silver or a gold with a competition of Ren and C. But with regards to that, Kim certainly had to fight off the challenge laid down by Megan Benfito of Canada. She's done it again. 2 Chinese competitions straight, 372.15 her final score. A 12-point difference than what it was at Beijing. Same order with Ren picking up the silver. And Chang also picking up the gold medal in the women's 10 meter synchro platform final. Well, that was on the first day. Back in action here on the third. This time she has to make do with a silver medal. 313 dead. Again, a lot better with regard to her final score than we saw at Beijing, where it was 398.75. So she's improved, but more importantly, so is C. Well accustomed to hearing the Chinese national anthem here, and we will be hearing it again very shortly. C, once again, the gold medal winner, 4:18.10. Like her compatriot Ren, she also made improvements with her final score.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the national anthem of the People's Republic of China.
So gold again for China. Just continue to go from strength to strength with regards to their participation in diving. So next up it is the medals to be handed out in the men's 10 metres platform. Once again, Chen has made it a gold 1-2 here. He picked up a gold on the first day. And the men's 10 metres synchro platform final with Yang. Well, his partner was just behind him in the silver medal position, in the third position, I should say. Excuse me. Tom Daley went one better this time by getting a silver medal to back up the bronze that he picked up at Beijing. So Daley, time and time again, he's proven that he has what it takes to bisect and sometimes even hurt the Chinese divers.
Party Secretary of Guangzhou Vocational Institute of Sport.
Certainly with regards to Yang, he was ahead of Chen at one stage after 2 dives. In fact, 3 dives, he was even close. After that, he just lost it completely, really, to be fair. That gave Tom Daley enough of an opportunity just to open the door and go ahead and get himself the silver. The 526.65, not lower than the 554.70 for Yang at Beijing. Daley, after a very difficult start, it's a poor opening round for the British diver. After that, slowly but surely, he just began to piece together his form, hence the reason he has himself a silver. You should be delighted with that, really, Daley. Competition was certainly strong. 5.31.45, 11 points better than the 5.20.35 at Beijing. So here's the winner of the gold medal. Chen, once again, has risen to the challenge. Interesting to see who the Chinese do send to the next instalment of the Diving World Series in Kazan. So it's a big winning margin for Chen of China. Another gold medal here for the local talent. So the People's Republic flag of China sitting pretty once again. It's Chen this time, who backed up the gold that he won on the first day, with another gold here on the last day. Well done to him. Well done also to Tom Daley. Very respectable silver medal for the British diver. Final medals about to be handed out here by the officials in Guangzhou, and Lian of China have had to wait until the final day, the final event, to get a slice of the action. And their patience has been rewarded by another gold medal to back up the gold they took at Beijing. Well done to Australia, and well done to the Mexicans for getting a bronze and silver. Turn things around on its head completely with Russia and Canada getting the silver and bronze at Beijing. So it shows you they brought their A game to the table here, the Mexicans, and I'm absolutely delighted for them. Yeah, the pair that have the biggest smiles on the podium, and they have every reason to. Big moment for them in their careers. But really, it was all academic after the first, maybe even the second round, as to where the gold medal will be heading. So well done to the Australians. They finished in 4th position. Kovchenko and Bedgood in Beijing. Couple of places this time. One place, I should say, up in the food chain. Oh, 20 points difference, 20 points better off this time, the Australian pair. It's a big improvement. What a big improvement it's been here for the Mexicans. The effervescence of youth coming to the fore here, coming to the table. And they'll make their way home with a silver medal packed neatly in their luggage. Well, even better improvement with regards to them. 40 points better off the Mexicans than they were at Beijing. Smooth sailing it was all the way here for the Chinese pairing of Lian and Lian. They started in 1st position and they ended in 1st position. Was there any doubt? Probably not. Well, the judges were very generous with regard to some of the scores handed out here to Chinese divers. Lian and Lian again with the recipient of receiving a 10. The gold medal winners again in the mixed 10-meter synchro platform final.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the national anthem of the People's Republic of China.
So it is as comprehensive, clean sweep of gold medal winners as you could wish to see here at the end of this World Series event in Guangzhou. Every single gold medal handed out to a Chinese diver / divers. Things couldn't have gone any better if they tried once again here. So they've backed up the success that they displayed to us at Beijing in another Chinese event here in Guangzhou. And everybody concerned here will be absolutely delighted with those results. So we leave you with the pictures here as the Chinese flag comes down. Thanks for your company. Kazan next for the divers in the FINA NVC Diving World Series. Be sure to tune in for our coverage before we head off to Windsor after Kazan. But for everybody at Guangzhou, goodbye for now.